Julian was a man who hated waiting. He hated waiting in lines, waiting for calls, waiting for results. In his mind, life was a race and only fools slowed down. Every goal he ever set burned hot in his chest, but only for a short while. He wanted success fast, love fast, respect fast, and if it didn't come quickly, he left, chasing the next fire. To the outside world, Julian looked ambitious, but inside, he was restless, a man burning through dreams like paper, always reaching, never staying. Julian once started a business. He designed the logo, launched the page, shouted to the world that he was building something great. But when the first month passed and profits were small, he grew angry. "Why is it taking so long?" he complained. By the third month, he quit, moving to the next idea. It was the same with relationships. He rushed in with words of forever, grand promises, fireworks of passion. But when patience was needed, when real love required time, he grew cold, restless, and walked away. Julian wanted the fruit of patience without planting its seed. And so his life was a field of half-dug holes, nothing rooted, nothing grown. Then came the breaking point. Julian poured his last savings into a get-rich-fast scheme. Friends warned him, but he didn't listen. This time it'll be quick, he thought. And just as quickly, the scheme collapsed, swallowing his money whole. In the same season, his rushing destroyed a relationship he valued. He pressed for answers, pressed for certainty, pressed for love to move at the speed of his impatience, and it shattered. One evening, walking through his neighborhood with his head heavy and his steps slow, Julian passed an old man tending a small garden behind a cracked fence. The man looked up, smiled, and said, "You look like someone carrying storms inside." The old man reached into his pocket, pulled out a tiny packet, and placed it in Julian's hand. "Plant it," the man said. "Water it, wait for it. If you can do that, you'll learn what you're missing." Julian scoffed. A seed? What could a seed teach him? But the old man only smiled, bent back to his soil, and said no more. Julian went home, tossing the seed on his table. For days it sat there untouched. But in his boredom, in his restlessness, he finally gave in. He filled a pot with soil, placed the seed, poured water, and set it by his window. The next morning he checked it eagerly. Nothing. The day after, nothing. By the third, his impatience roared. He almost threw the pot away, but a strange thought whispered, "What if you just wait?" And so he watered again, and again, and again. Days became weeks, months, still nothing. Julian's old self screamed inside him, "This is useless, move on." But something quieter, maybe the echo of that old man's voice, kept him steady. And then one morning, barely visible, a green shoot pierced the soil. Julian stared at it for a long time. For the first time in his life, he had planted something and watched patience turn invisible time into visible growth. At work, instead of quitting when tasks dragged on, he endured. In conversations, instead of rushing to answer, he listened. In his goals, instead of chasing quick flames, he began building steady fires that lasted. Patience didn't come naturally, but the seed, that small, ordinary seed, had taught him what years of rushing never could. Good things don't shout. They grow in silence. Months later, Julian's small seed had grown tall, and so had he. He wasn't yet rich. He wasn't yet flawless, but he had something stronger: discipline, peace, and trust in the process. People around him began to notice. His work grew solid. His friendships grew deeper. He became someone others leaned on, not because he had everything, but because he no longer demanded everything too soon. Patience had turned his storms into seasons.